Team Chief Mike Magnoli. Well, the week is over, and you know what that means. Buckle up for the election. Today and Monday on ARC Florida, we're going to be looking at Palm Beach County's race for County Commission District 5. There are the candidates on the screen right now. Incumbent Maria Sachs is the Democrat. She's trying to hold on to that seat. And Republican John Fisher is trying to oust Maria and to join the commission. John is with me here now. So, John, your website says that you are running to drain the swamp.
Yes, sir.
Why do you think the County Commission is a swamp right now?
I initially got into running, throwing my hat into the ring for a traffic safety issue out in front of my community. I butted my head up against the wall for about 3.5 years, and I couldn't figure out why are we having trouble with a bad traffic crash every month on average. And so come to find out that there was a financial component to it. The county is currently $100 million behind in road projects, okay? $700 million behind in capital projects. So I looked at the budget, and the budget at that time was $6.7 billion, and now it's encroaching upon $9 billion. That's billion with a B, okay? So that caused me to look into it a little bit more deeply as far as the budget goes and see the waste. There's a lot of waste. So people talk about DC's budget, and I tell people, you got to drain your own budget before, your own swamp before you get the DC swamp.
Heard that.
Right.
John, you're a first responder. How will that experience play into your term if you win? Do you want to do anything with the county, with the county's emergency services if you win?
The emergency services, I retired 13 years ago as a captain with Palm Beach County Fire Rescue. And by the way, I was staff. The county commission has to make rules and decisions based on staff's recommendations. I was staff for 27 years, so I know how the system works. As far as changing anything or adding anything, the county, the fire department as of right now is a Class Act fire department, fire rescue. So to enhance it as much as humanly possible, I would want to do that. But right now it's running quite well, and they have the equipment and the training. They're Class A.
You know, we hear all the time on the commission, on the dais when they're talking at these meetings, staff advises or staff says, so that was you. For our viewers at home, I want them to understand. So
right.
Your staff, you're the ones advising the commission.
Right. Exactly. And all the sub-level departments have to have their own budgets. They pass their budgets to the county administrator. County administrator, by the way, is making $437,000 a year salary plus benefits on a 5-year contract. That's more than the President of the United States. Okay, so that's where it starts.
Nice gig.
And then work your way down into that swamp. Okay?
It's a nice gig.
Yes, absolutely.
Here's a question about the Republican Party and if there are changes in the wind in the county. You know that typically in a presidential election year, the county is blue. So I'm curious, John, do you think that the Republicans can move the needle next week? And just want to sort of pick your brain about that, because it's an uphill battle for Republicans this time around.
It is, but I believe there's a lot of Tulsi Gabbards and RFK Juniors out there that are wanting to jump ship.
Okay.
I had to qualify to get on the ballot by getting my petition signed. Candidates, by and large, are not doing that anymore. It's kind of a pain. It's easier to cut a check, right? So I went knocking on doors in Century Village and Kings Point, which is predominantly Democrat. Okay, there were a lot of Democrats that opened up that door and signed my petition with the big block letters in the middle, Republican, and they were happy to so I think there's quite a few disenfranchised Democrats out there that are fed up with everything that's going on.
We'll see.
Yeah.
Rapid development is a concern for a lot of people in Palm Beach County. If you make it to the commission, what are you going to do when a builder comes in front of the board and they want to put up 400, 500 new homes in an area where traffic is already a nightmare? The infrastructure in Palm Beach County is already being stretched very thin. So let's talk about that and what your ideas are relative to development.
Great question. As I said before, the county's behind $100 million in road projects.
Yep.
Palm Beach County roads get an F fail rating. Okay, so we're far behind on that. You can't really slow down development. You can't tell the developers they can't build if it's zoned for building. So what I'd like to do is kind of get the roads in check. You can't have all of these communities with hundreds of more cars on the road and the traffic issues that we're facing with the roads in such poor shape. So that's basically, to me, is the first and foremost, is get our roads squared away. Years ago, they did what was called proportionate share. The state legislature passed proportionate share, which shifted the monetary focus from the builder onto the county to take care of the roads. The 9 scariest words in the English language: I'm with the government and I'm here to help. So when you shift something like that over to the government and give it as their responsibility, you run amok. And that's what we're seeing on these roads now. Lyons Road up in Boynton Beach, you had Bob's barricade barrels seem to be permanently affixed to the roadway for months and months and months on end.
Yes.
You know, so there's that. And then when you call them out on it, they say, well, there's electrical lines underneath the roadway that we didn't know about. Well, your top engineer, the chief of engineers, who my opponent is calling the expert, these are the experts, you know. Why didn't you know about it? If you're the expert, why didn't you know about the electrical lines underneath the roadway, which are causing the delays on these projects? So
I see your point, and I
Yeah.
think it's interesting that it was a road issue and a traffic issue that sort of got you involved in this,
Yes.
that prompted you to want to run.
Yes.
John, do you have any ideas for how the county could tackle the growing homeless population in Palm Beach County?
That's a tough one. I spent a 27-year career running 911 calls on the homeless. And by and large, I want to say the majority of the homeless are not homeless simply because they're down on their luck. There's something.
Mental health
There's
issues.
mental health issues. So it's a complicated mix when you want to say that we need to find homes for the homeless, but you can't force someone to have a roof over their head. If you put a roof over most of these people's heads, I guarantee you 2 weeks later they'll be back out on the street. Okay? And then you'll have someone say, well, we have to give them mental health care. Well, once again, we live in a free society. You can't force mental health care on people if they don't want it, unless they're a threat to themselves or a threat to others, and you can do what's called the Baker Act on them. But it's a tough situation that, once again, we're in a free society, and you can't force people to have a roof over their heads. So
Definitely a tough
there's
one.
that. Yeah.
Definitely a tough one. And you're calling for, you want an outside independent audit of
Yes.
the county's budget, open it up and let someone else look at it.
Absolutely. I want to find, I mean, I've seen some of the waste. You go into some of these county commission meetings and you see what the consent agenda. The consent agenda used to be 6 or 7 kitchen table items, you know, like $90 for a case of ketchup. Things that the commissioners can just one swoop of a pen get the small stuff out of the way, get onto the big stuff. That consent agenda is now like 20 pages, okay? And I read one recently, and it was interesting. I saw one line on there for diving coaches. $80,000 a year to hire someone to teach people how to jump off a board into a swimming pool, okay?
The county's paying for that?
Well, it was on the consent agenda, and the commissioners have the ability to pull an item out and throw it on the regular agenda and talk about it, you know, but they rarely do. So, and rightly so, you've got 20, 30 pages now, and this falls back on the county administrator, okay? The county administrator is the one pushing this stuff onto the commissioners. So it's that's a very interesting aspect of the budget that I would like to tackle, and I'd like to have the outside auditor come in and take a deep look, a forensic look at that, and propose to us, you know, how we can change it.
I anticipate there would be some resistance to that on the commission.
There could be. I look at it right now that there's nobody in a leadership role. I'm ready to fill that leadership role and to be able to sell it to my fellow commissioners to make it palatable for them to sign on board for just that.
I thank you for coming on and talking with us
Thanks,
about
Mike.
your platform.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me. I appreciate
luck.
it. Thank you very much.
We'll be right back after this.
Name, image,